Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of Linux for absolute beginners. My name is Tia from DevOps Easy Learning, and today we'll be going through vimdiff, vim, and alias in Linux. Right. Let me just click here. We have a couple of examples here. When we say vimdiff, what is the purpose of the vimdiff command in Linux? Let's say you have two files here, and you are trying to kind of check what might be the difference between those two files. You can go ahead and use the vimdiff command line to see if there is any difference between those two files, right? And what is also a diff command? A diff will also give you the difference between two files, right? File 1 and file 2, and you just say diff file 1 and file 2, and how can I see you guys will see that the diff command basically is used for those who kind of have a little bit of experience to kind of understand. And I would strongly advise you guys to use the vimdiff instead of just the diff, right? Because with the vimdiff, you are going to see the difference yourself. That means it's going to open two these two file. One will be to the left, another one will be to the right, and it's going to show you if there's any different or not, right? That means we kind of use this to compare two file to see if there is any different. And what is an alias? An alias in Linux is just used to create a shortcut to the command, because sometimes you see somebody can type his name and then hit enter, and it's going to trigger a Linux command. You start asking yourself what is going on here. Would that mean the person have something called an alias basically set up, and when he hit that alias, what happened is that it will go ahead and open you go ahead and run that command automatically, right? And I will also kind of show you guys my own aliases that I have already set up, right? And when I punch those aliases, those will go ahead and do exactly what I want. Let us go ahead and jump into the command line and see what we can do here. Before you move on, please make sure that you have access to a Linux server, and when you because if you don't have access, you won't be able to do the hands-on, right? Let me go ahead here and log in into one of our Linux servers here. I'm going to punch my password, and when I'm in, I will just look for something. I'll cook up something, and we can do the hands-on with alias. I am here. Let me kind of move here into this folder here. I have one folder here, and I will see if I can find a file in there. If you cut this file here, just call I have one file here called Sonaku project. If you cut this, as you guys can see, you can use any file that you want, but you need to have two files or directories, right? If you cut this, as you guys can see, this is a file here that contains a couple of stuff. And in here, let's say I can kind of like create another file and put the same content, and we try to compare those two and see. Let me go ahead, and I would like to copy the content of this file, and I'm going to put that content into another file. Let me cut this, and I'm going to create another file just with vim command. I will use the vim command, and I'm going to create a file called test.txt and hit enter, and I'll press I here for insert, and I'll go ahead and paste the content, use colon, right, and quit. Now I'll go ahead and force colon, right, and quit and force. And what is going on here? Go ahead, continue. Well, go here, colon, right, and quit, and exclamation point will stand for false. Wow, it's not allowing me to do so. Okay, that is fine. I'm going to quit without save. I will just go ahead here and say colon, quit without save, and that is fine. Instead of using just vim as a regular user, I will use sudo in front of this, and we'll go ahead here and punch my password so that I will be a root user. Press I here, and I'm going to punch the content, colon, right, and quit. Now, good. I basically have another file here that I call a test.txt, and I can open that. As you guys can see, those content look the same. If you go ahead here and kind of use a vimdiff, and let me go ahead here and type the vimdiff. Diff is supposed to be why this guy doesn't. Oh, vimdiff is just one comment, please, and that is why I was typing tap. I'm not able to find it, and I was asking myself, and here I can say, okay, I'm looking for vim, and diff. As you guys can see, auto completion. I want to compare these two files. One is called the test.txt and another one is called the SonarQube property. This one, the txt. If you hit enter, this is what I was saying here. As you guys can see here, it basically opened these two files, and here it is saying that I don't have any change, right? Everything kind of look great so far. There is no change. Let me go ahead and just say colon and say quit without save, and I'll go ahead here also colon quit without save, escape, escape, and I'll go ahead and hit colon quit without save, and I'm going to make a modification. I'll just say vim test.txt, and in this test.txt I'll go ahead here and add one more line here. Let me go ahead and just press write something that vim will not allow me. It won't allow me because I've seen that already. Let me quit, and I will use a sudo to open that file, and I will say test.txt. If you're working as a root user, you will not have any issue, right? Vim test.txt, and let me go here. I'm going to add one more line here. Let me type here, and I will go ahead and save that. That is cool. Let me compare these two files again with vimdiff. As you guys can see now, it basically pops up and say, hey, here everything looks good, but here you make some modification, and we have tier here which is not in this file. As you guys can see, if you save this, you just need to type colon and you say quit without save, and colon again, quit without save to get out. Quit without save here, and you are out. Ls. Let me go into that file again, and I'm going to put more stuff. Let's say at the end, I want to add a couple of lines here. Just maybe say I love, maybe I can just even copy something, or I can just add anything so that we can test that. You guys will see if you save this and trying to compare these two files again with vimdiff. As you guys can see, if you hit enter here, as you guys can see, it is saying that I have this content here and we don't have it here, right? This content called testing, and also all this weird stuff that we cannot read, and this one here called here, we don't have it in this file, as you guys can see here, right? That is how you can check in Linux, check maybe if compare two files to see if those files are the same, right? Now, if you're using colon quit without save, colon also quit without save. If you're using another tool here that we call a diff, and you just say diff, that will be really tough to read, right? Some folks will use this. As you guys can see, it's saying that in the first file that you have tier, and another one you have all this, but you don't really know. If you don't have experience, you will be able to read this. As you guys can see, the main difference is what is that this one file here basically have all this, as you guys can see, and another file does not have it, and you can see it here. And if you want to check with vimdiff, that's where you really understand, because you open both files side by side, and it's going to show you where you make a modification, right? Even if you like any modification, if you change just a line, you go ahead and see that also. Like if you just say vim, let me just go ahead here and change just this line. Instead of this, if you just put a little I in front of this and I save it, you guys will see with vimdiff, it's going to tell me that if I say diff, so you guys can see here, it's tough to really understand exactly what is going on here, because it's saying that one line here basically have I, and another one doesn't have I, right? But if you want to see that like in the visual representation, that is where you basically use this, and it's going to tell you here we added I here, and here there is no I, right? Really simple to understand. Now, another command that we still have here is called an alias, right? How can we use alias in Linux? Now, first of all, before using these aliases, let me kind of jump out I'm going to exit. Now, if you just type something and say mvim and check where I put all my aliases and go all at the beginning, as you can see here, I set up all my aliases here. And when I run all this, what happened is that, look, how I can log in into our servers. And one servers I was kind of using something like maybe like server 4 or something. As you guys can see, if you type S8 is going to log me in server 4, for instance, and that is the one that I log in, right? As you guys can see, I have a bunch of aliases set up here, and when, let's say, I apply for a new position and I got higher, I make sure that I create my alias, I create all these aliases already, right? As you guys can see, I have gig aliases, Docker aliases, Kubernetes aliases. I can do whatever I want here, and this basically help me a lot to speed up my process, right? Let me go ahead here and kind of get out of here, and I will use alias now to log in on one of our Linux server. Instead of typing SSH, instead of typing this command here called SSH, I basically set up an alias called X8. And if you type X8, you guys can see it's asking for my command line. And S8 is not a fully qualified domain name to log in, right? Why? Because I set this thing up as an alias. Look, if you exit again and say I want to log in our server 1, as you guys can see here, is going to log me in into our server 1 here. Why? Because I basically set up an alias, and I'm using that alias now to log in. And when I will type S1, somebody will ask a question, what is X1? Can you log in a Linux server using S1? Yes, the answer is yes. Why? Because I basically set up an alias. And let me cancel the process. I will go ahead and exit, and I will go ahead now and kind of logging into X use SSH. That is going to log me into one of our server here, which is server 4. I just wanted to show you guys those alias stuff. And when I get in here, we'll go ahead and create some aliases. How can you create an alias? We'll say ls sometime -l to basically say long list, right? List the content of file and directory here, but do it in terms of long list. Now, let's see. I want to type something just by typing L, just like this, and you can type ls-l. How can I do that? I can basically just type alias, and I'll say L equal, and put in quote here, say ls-l, and having ls-l, and hit enter. If you type L now, it is going to type ls-l. As you guys can see, if you just say L, that is ls-l. What happens here is that if you exit out of this, if you are logged out of this server and log back in and type L, this is not going to work no more, because it knows only the current shell, right? Let's say if you exit out of this server and are logging again and type L, it will not recognize that. Let me punch my password, and if you type L, it will not recognize that. Why? Because when you set an alias through a command line, it will just be used for the current shell. And if you type L, it won't recognize that. As you can see, it will not. And I can go ahead and set that alias again. I just use recall, and it's going to work. Let's say I want to set up another alias, and see when I want to clear my screen. If you just type the command C, it should run the command clear, for instance, right? If you hit C now and hit enter, it clear my screen. Tap L, it do this, and tap C, it clear my screen, right? Which is really, really great. But how can we make this permanent? If you tap ls-l here, as you guys can see, we will have like ls-l -e. I'll have some hidden files here, and one is called we have the vim info, we have the bash history. We need another one here, and that one is usually called the bash rc, right? And it look like the bash rc is not here. If it's not there, we'll go ahead and create a file here called the bash rc file. And when you create that, let's say that file does not exist, you can go ahead and create a bash rc file, right? Here it is a hidden file, and right here in my home directory, let me make sure that yes, I am in my home directory. And if you type ls-a, I don't have that bash rc, right? I can go ahead and create a bash rc file just like that, as you guys can see, and I can go ahead and create an alias. Let me go ahead here and say alias, and I want to call C equal, and I put in quote clear, oops, and close this, and also set another one alias, and maybe LSL equal, and I want to say ls dash LA, even list hidden directories, and I'll go ahead and save. Oh, oops, I need to use sudo to do this. Oh crap. Let me go ahead and tap escape, and I will just go ahead and copy this so that when I open it with Vim, I can just go ahead and paste it. Let me go ahead here and quit without save, hit enter, and I will use sudo. I even have two Vim. This is wrong. We're supposed to put just Vim, and I will use sudo and run this as root, put my password, and I'll press I here and paste those aliases, and I'll be able to save it now. Now, when you tap this will not take effect immediately. What can you do so that this will go ahead and take effect immediately? You need to type this command called source. And when you say source, you say you want to source dot bash rc file. Now, if you tap L, as you can see, is tapping a list all hidden files, right? If you type L again, type C, as you can see. If you exit out of the server, let's say I basically exit, close, and let me log in and tap here. And when we kind of log in, we'll see what is going on. Let me tap L. It's a command not found. Every time that you log in, just say source, just type the command source, and you source in your home directory. You're checking a hidden folder called bash rc, and if you hit enter, if you type L, as you guys can see, if you type C, as you guys can see, that means anything that you set in there, it will go ahead and execute that. Like, I can go ahead again and just set another alias. If you say vim, go to my home directory, I want to open the .bash rc. I can set another alias. For instance, I can set another alias, right? I need to open this one as root. I'll save, and I won't save. I will just quit without save, and I will use sudo so that I can edit that without any issue. And let me punch my password. Oops, that is wrong. Shame on me. And I'll go ahead here and type YYP just to copy and paste. And I will make some modification here. Let me go ahead and press I and go ahead here and tap another alias. I'm going to kind of call this alias. I'm just thinking something that let me just go ahead here and tab U and say when I tab U every time, it should go ahead and tab the uname command and -A for more information. As you can see, I can save this, right and quit, and if you source that file so that it's going to take effect, and tab U, as you can see, I can tab L and I can tab C to clear my screen, right? Which is really, really good, right? But when you're still learning, please do not use aliases, right? Only use aliases when you master all this Linux command and you know how to use this efficiently, especially when you start working. You can set all your aliases, and every time you can use all these shortcuts to basically speed up your work. And also, if you're struggling with Vim, let's say you don't understand how Vim works, please let me know in the comment below so that I'll go ahead and package another video, get it ready, right, and shoot it out there for Vim and kind of explain how to use Vim efficiently. That's it for this video, guys. If you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do so. And also, please don't forget to follow us on social media such as Facebook, Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. Thank you. Bye bye.